Chairman, thank you, Mr. Secretary, for your testimony and your service as our Secretary. I'm following up on the gentleman from Minnesota's questions. The viewpoint I would have would be that if you had more, I mean, I'm hearing this, if you had more flexibility, you could diminish the effect of the potential furlough of our meat inspectors. And I don't hear you say yes to the question, have you submitted a plan or proposal as to where you might take that money if you had full flexibility within the department? Can you tell us here today where you would take that money from if you had full flexibility?
You know, Congressman, I'm a little reluctant to do that because I'd like to have obviously the opportunity to understand precisely what flexibility I have, what directions Congress is providing to me, and what our staff has to say. I mean, these are difficult choices that we make. Do we take it from the Foreign Ag Service and reduce exports? That's not particularly a particular.
But I'm really interested in what you might do, and rather than what would be a bad thing to do. And as I watch the Pentagon, they seem to be able to propose that they can furlough civilian employees with a significant amount of flexibility. I'm going to expect that they went to OMB for an analysis of the sequestration language. Have you had any directives from OMB that would illuminate this thing in such a way that you have less flexibility than the Pentagon, perhaps?
Well, no, you know, the Pentagon, the difference, Congressman, is depending upon how many accounts you have in a particular area. So, for example, NRCS, in my world, has far more accounts than the food safety account. And so you do have some degree of, within the NRCS world, of being able to prioritize because you've got different accounts. But with food safety, you only have a couple of accounts, and they are all basically people. And well, most of them are people on the front.
I do understand that, and that's been in part of your public statement here over the last few days. I would ask you if you would be willing to, and just ask you to submit to this committee your recommendations on what you'd like to see written into the CR to give you the flexibility necessary so that the meat industry no longer has to be concerned about the backup that could be caused by furloughs of meat inspectors.
Well, the answer to that question is relatively easy, Congressman. Just give us the resources.
That's not the option, Mr. Secretary, as you well know.
See, now that's a choice you all are making, all right?
That's a choice that was actually recommended by the President, and it is the current law. I'm suggesting this: staying within the sequestration caps, which you have said that you intend to do and follow the law. Do you have a recommendation that you'd be willing to offer this committee that could go into the CR that would alleviate the meat inspection problem that you say is impending?
Well, again, if I was going to make a recommendation, it would be to adequately fund that line item of the budget.
We reach an impasse on that, Mr. Secretary. So let me pose a couple of other things. Can you cite any evidence that the school lunch program is contributing to the obesity of our children?
Well, there's an Institute of Medicine study that was done prior to the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act passage in 2010 that suggested that our school lunch programs were providing our youngsters with too much sodium, too much sugar, and too much fat content, all of which I think do, in fact, contribute to obesity.
And we, out there across the people that are providing the food to these kids, I can't find anybody in the industry in the cafeterias that would concur that the food they're getting now is contributing to obesity. Can you? Okay.
Well, there's a difference, Congressman. You asked if there was.
A study.
Evidence.
You cited the study, and I recognize that.
If you're asking the question today, obviously we're taking steps to improve our meals and providing more fruits and vegetables, less sodium, less sugar, less fat, more whole grains, and more low-fat dairy. So we believe that it is making a difference, and the fact that we've seen obesity levels in major cities basically plateau, I think is, a good indicator of perhaps.
I read the First Lady's op-ed on that. I didn't see a lot of evidence in it, but I saw her op-ed. But can you cite a statutory directive to cap calories or meat in the foods in the school lunch program, or isn't that an option that you've taken when you wrote the rules?
Well. One of the concerns, obviously, is calories in and calories out. And what we've done in light of the concerns that have been expressed by school officials is to provide some degree of flexibility on this. And I think there is greater appreciation and greater acceptance of this because of the flexibility we provided. So there has been a flexibility, but we haven't necessarily sacrificed the principles that the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act directed us to.
What's the rationale for rationing meat?
Well, it's not rationing meat. It's balancing the meal, Congressman. It's making sure that there's a balance between fruits, vegetables, grains, and protein.
You have a cap written into it on meat that can be supplemented by other forms of protein, so I would define that as rationing meat. What would the rationale be?
Well, it's giving the school districts choices in terms of their protein choices, and making sure that they understand the importance of a balanced plate and a balanced meal.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I yield back.